we're delighted to have Dr. Asif Mehmood here, who's presenting his work titled Order Number 628, Law, Space and the Coal Power Production at Sahiwal, Pakistan. Dr. Asif is a postdoctoral fellow at the Center for Global Asia, New York University, Shanghai. He completed his doctoral degree in environmental science at the State University of New York in Syracuse. His doctoral work explored state formation in Pakistan vis-a-vis the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, projects couched within environmental infrastructure governance. He is interested in questions of urban political ecology, land, non-human ecologies, urban governance, and environmental humanities. His research has appeared in peer-reviewed journals like South Asia Research, Cultural Studies, Antipode, Political Geography, Human Geography, and EPD, Society and Space. His work has been supported by the State University of New York, the Eiger Foundation, and American Institute of Pakistan Studies. Dr. Asif, thank you very much for being here. Over to you. You have about 45 minutes, and then we'll move to question and answer.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. So this work is basically part of my dissertation research. So I'll begin with the broader picture. My dissertation research focuses on the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative, which was started in 2013 by Xi Jinping. It's a global connectivity program that focuses on economic development, infrastructure, resource exploration, and connectivity through different means, and educational and cultural exchanges. So out of its 6 corridors, I focus on its Pakistani offshoot, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. The China-Pakistan Economic Corridor program was initiated in 2015. It has 3 phases and it has different projects. In the first phase, it has the roads, the energy projects, hydel, wind, coal, and others. Then the second phase focuses on economic and agricultural zones. And we are entering in the second phase, but there's a lot of geopolitics happening around that, as you are like following the news on CPEC. So specifically, I explore how CPEC projects as an imaginary of the China model of development couched within the environmental governance enable state formation in Pakistan. So I conducted multi-sited ethnography on 3 projects: Sahiwal Coal Power Unit, Multan Sakhar Motorway, and Tharparkar Coalfield. So this was an 18-month work at these sites and in different offices, and where I made conversations with different state officials and did some document analysis. And I worked with the communities at these sites. And also, since my project involved state ethnography and institutions, so I also did some work in Karachi, Islamabad, and Lahore, 2019, and then 2021 to 2022. And then after my graduation in 2024, May, with the support from American Institute of Pakistan Studies short-term grant, I visited Tharparkar for some time. Then for my postdoctoral work, I'm currently doing field work on some broader questions related with BRI and South Asia. So why I chose these projects? Because all the 3 projects came from the first phase. They were up and running and in a way mature transactions where I could make meaningful interaction with the communities and sort of look at impacts and how they are sort of engaged with the local kind of conditions and other things that I was kind of trying to address. So I begin with zooming further into the Sahiwal project. I begin with this short vignette from my paper, which is in revision for the Geo Forum. On 28th May 2015, after necessary approvals, Order 628 was issued from the Board of Land Revenue Punjab at Lahore. Like other days, the imposing red brick building of the board was powered by a noisy diesel generator that day due to long and frequent power outages in the midst of that worst energy crunch the country had been facing. The order sanctioned sale of over 1,000 acres of public and privately acquired agricultural land to a Chinese company to establish a 1320 megawatt coal power plant at Kadrabad, Sahiwal. In the run-up to the final deal, when the mid-tier officials whispered to each other in the boardrooms that the coal couldn't be the way forward, the nerve-breaking outages in the typical Pakistani summer gave everyone a second thought on the trade-off: power breakdowns or the coal power. It rendered everyone short of arguments for the moment. They could sense the pragmatic managerial gaze from the top policy leadership at the economic cost of energy shortage, the crisis-ridden industries, the ensuing unemployment, and the social unrest in the country. Clearly, the order not only laid the foundations of an early harvest project of the BRI offshoot in Pakistan, the CPEC, but also locked the state and the local communities into a hazardous dependency for 30 years till December 2047. Whether or not it felt like a collective policy myopia to the whispering wonks in 2015, the Sahiwal plant added over 1,300 megawatts to the national grid in just 2 years. With its inauguration in July 27, 6.5 months before the stipulated time. Order 628, I argue, is a register that visibilizes multiple other legal and regulatory formations within land and energy governance through which social ecological change and experience of coal power are materially enacted. In the absence of any development frameworks or regulatory protocols from China as a donor, BRI operates with a mix of post-colonial instruments and corporate governance regimes and expedites market orientation and resource governance. Through the legal transactions at Sahiwal, while coal emerges as a state-making resource for the economic revival of energy-starved Pakistan, BRI establishes itself as an efficient but securitized, consensual, and conflict-averse infrastructure delivery, where Chinese aspirations on BRI enroll non-Chinese nature into its financial fold. So I further argue that Sahiwal coal power is not just a technical or engineering output, but it's also a complex legal spatial relationship. And I use law as a broader metaphor here, and I kind of use framework, legal geography framework, which kind of helps us know how law happens on ground, and how law happens and in all its derivatives and operatives, in a way that we look at rules, that we look at regulatory actors, the bureaucracies, the judicial actors, the legal fraternity, how they engaged with different processes on ground. So law here is methodologically is a broader kind of theoretical device that I put to operation here. So my aim is to expand and diversify BRI CPEC environmental governance, which even to date are more to the quantified policy analysis or classical geopolitical analysis. So ethnographic study for specifically bringing to the fore the legal actors and laws and within the broader environmental governance is in a way valuable for the people who are interested in these transactions. So my units of analysis are laws, rules, regulatory institutions, instruments, and actors that enable coal power, and I show these transactions how law-space relationship kind of emerges on ground within energy and land governance. So as I have argued that China did not, through BRI, did not introduce any developmental frameworks like USAID does or any other JICA or DFID does. So they work with a mix of post-colonial and corporate governance regimes in Pakistan. So here I in a way foregrounding the recent history of these processes. So I argue that the corporate governance regimes were introduced in early 2000s with kind of the so-called new public management reforms. As opposed to the traditional public administration, they focus on the efficiency mantras, the result-based governance, some kind of result matrix, and then they focus on specialization instead of the generalist bureaucracies or the generalist civil service. So in a way, new public management looks at the government functions as the market functions. And so my argument here is that the NPM in a way, coupled with technology of consensus that I elaborate ahead, they in a way advance the objectives of the coal power production, for that matter, in my focus, and other projects like hydropower, because they were also being done through the same windows or through the same forums. So focusing on the energy governance, the energy department in Punjab adopted corporate governance rules in 2013. So those rules in a way enabled creation of certain arm's length bodies like public sector companies, authorities, independent boards. So they moved, in a way, moved out of the traditional bureaucratic hierarchy, so to in a way deliver better, to look good, and to look corporate maybe, as they were sort of making a transnational interaction under the BRI CPEC program. So those, literally, the energy department was moved out of the colonial the compound in Civil Secretariat and placed in a building on Jail Road, which is sort of housed with other corporate private entities. So it was in a way kind of not only a legal shift but also a spatial kind of shift, just to give this sense that we can deliver better, or sort of we want to deliver better on energy, and we can also, as my vignette suggested, that it was in the midst of that energy crisis that we were sort of experiencing at that point of time. So the legal documents that I perused during my research, for instance, the license that was issued to the power generation company, the Chinese company. So not only those policy briefs, the policy actors, but also those the smaller instruments like license, as I said, they talked about the cost benefit and efficiency logics, that how coal, using local coal was cheaper than the imported furnace oil that Pakistan is still doing that. So, but the plan is to shift from the imported coal to the local coal coming from Tharparkar, which has in a way started its production after 2018, and that too after the funding from China. So my argument here is that these NPM foundations and operations expedited the objectives of coal production, but they operated with unusual consensus of the bureaucracies, the legal actors. So otherwise, we know that the local bureaucracies are known for their red tapes and nerve-breaking kind of delays. But in this case, they moved away and they sort of did away with all the barriers, and they just kind of showed exemplary coordination just to realize this project 6.5 months before its stipulated time. And they earned this name called the Sahiwal speed or the Punjab speed, which was modeled after the Shenzhen speed in China. So some people also call Shehbaz speed. So those things just to show that we can deliver faster like China. So those unusual synergies from the bureaucratic actors, the legal actors, the regulatory actors, were making sure that this program is conflict-free. So not only among themselves, so they made sure that down to their minute interaction with the communities, they will in a way make it frictionless. So for instance, the NOC which was issued by the Environmental Protection Department to the company provided this clause that the compensation would be compensations in terms of land acquisition or other resource acquisition would be done prior to the start of the project, which otherwise continues still after, like years and years after the project. That's a good thing. And the second one was this job bargain, which turned out to be the environmental bargain, that 90% of the jobs would go to the local communities. So as a strategy of making this program conflict-free, there are different informal tools. Fatma Tasadduq, an anthropologist, she also talks about in another CPEC project, the Lahore Orange Line. So she talks about informal grants in aid as in a way just to avoid the protests which might cause delays in sort of meeting the deadlines for the project. So what we are doing here, that we focus on the consensus or conflict aversion of the bureaucratic actors in their interaction with the communities to realize this project. But most important in this whole scenario is the judicial consensus. So in 2018, Chief Justice of Pakistan visited China and then talked to his counterpart in China and made assurances that not only the judiciary in Pakistan is in close contact with federal and the provincial bureaucracies on CPEC projects, but the lower judiciary has also been asked to not issue injunctive orders on CPEC projects. So usually what happens is on development projects, so court status quo orders create delays. So good or bad, but this consensus basically constituted legal kind of foreclosing of the political in these processes. And then we move on to the land governance transactions, where the same efficiency kind of logics we can see in the site selection once the Sahiwal project site was selected. So initially the notification which was issued by the Chief Minister's office basically provided for a land which is barren. Then it also provided for that community displacement should be avoided. But the technical measures, quote unquote, were left to the parameters of the Energy Department and the NTDC, the National Transmission and Dispatch Company. So in the words of Tania Marelli, the technical measures kind of overpowered and rendered, because they were rendered technical, the whole thing, and the selection of the site was made a technical matter instead of community or environmental or something combined to that. So what the NEPRA called it as an ideal site. Why was so? Because they said that, as you might have seen, might have noticed, I have tried to sort of present a bigger picture of how the amenities work around the coal power project. So there's this canal that we see here, then the railway lines, and then like I could not show more pictures from that. So it basically provided that we have all the amenities. We have the evacuation line, like we'll produce the power and then evacuate to we are close to the load center, which means the industries of the upper Punjab. We have all other like local facilities, like schools or hospitals for staff, and like the pick and drop services, etc. So like all the rationalities boil down to that the project was efficient and ready to launch at this point of at this point in Sahiwal. So the most I would say the strongest objection that people would raise if you talk to them in Sahiwal, they say that why Sahiwal was chosen. because it's as like I've tried to sort of portray that this land is like a fertile strip, very well known, and why a coal power in an area like this, and taking away a strip of over 1,000 acres of land, and displace so many people, and so the site selection, and then moving on to the corporatization of land governance. So the order 6 to 8 basically was issued under statement of condition, which were 2015. So the parent law of those SOCs, the statement of conditions, is the government Colonization of Government Lands Act 1912. So that parent law basically provides restrictions and controls over different land uses, industrial, agricultural, housing, and others. So the strict controls on rent, ownership, leasing, and others. Even if you become owner after you get the proprietary rights, you are not really the owner, because alienation of land rights basically requires another assent and permission from the Board of Revenue. So it's in a way like a strict control on land, which continued from 1912, since the inception of the promulgation of this act. But in 2015, when this land for energy projects SOCs were issued, under which the order 628 was issued. So that particular SOC provided for a clause where a foreign entity could not only own land, could also sell the land, and could also mortgage if they think it's appropriate for their business. So a shift, like this is a huge shift from a strict control, which is still there, like strict controls, to an opening up of the local resource to a foreign entity, and then allowing it to be mortgaged in a market where like faceless owners would in a way own it. You don't really know who they are. And this financialization practice is, on the mainland China, it's huge, but they took it to a non-Chinese land. And this is very specific to not only this land, but as far as I can recall, the land for hydropower at Azad Patan, Azad Kashmir. So those two cases that I know were financialized. So what financialization does, financialization of nature, it's an increasingly debated and criticized phenomenon. So what it does, among other things, is, as I said, in a way, hands over your resource, local resource, to a faceless owner, and it passes on to who knows who. And it's like the collective stewardship that is required for environmental preservation or conservation. So that is directly, in a way, impacted. So the third relationship that I want to show here, where the legal and spatial relationship manifests, is securitization. I show two phases of securitization here. So one that is excludes, which is the coercive arm of the state. The other one is that rewards and literally securitizes the resource. So securitization, the first is Land Acquisition Act, the coercive arm of the state, where like different scholars focusing on other CPEC projects, for instance, Amara Maqsood and Fiza Sajjad's paper talks about how it limits the sphere of questioning the public purpose, and also in a way, and just provides them to just talk about compensation only. So shrinking of the role of the public through arm twisting is in a way enshrined in that Land Acquisition Act. On top of that, on this particular land piece, Anti-Terrorism Act of 1997 was invoked, and specifically it's Section 7, which is non-bailable. So people who, one of the villages where people resisted the acquisition, they were like arrested, and like they face this police action under Section 7. So that part. Increasingly, scholars like Hassan Karar Saab or Nausheen Anwar or Asim Sajjad Akhtar have talked about the everyday securitization in Pakistan and how it is homegrown to the CPEC project specifically. So the second phase that rewards and that I found there was this scheme called Ghodipal scheme, which was started around the Second World War or between the wars somewhere. So Ghodipal scheme is the horse breeding scheme, which basically is a land grant scheme which awards a certain a piece of land, in this case 24 acres, to the tenants. So where they get the land, and in return they breed horses to be used for the military purpose. So that scheme continued from the colonial times today. And what happened here, that while others were displaced and left to their own with the reward money, the second group that I'm saying were rewarded and where the land was like literally securitized, they were given an alternative piece of land, equally fertile in the nearby villages and on priority basis, which was probably as fast as even the handing over of this parcel of land to the Chinese company. The people who were rewarded with the alternative land got their land, and they just got the occupation of the land very quickly. So those two phases. So in general, what's the takeaway from my work is that the coal power plants are not only the sites of production, but they are also the sites of contestation of state society visions. They are also a place where we can see, specifically in countries like Pakistan, the split personality of the state. And we are seeing like people are divorcing the national grid, and they are like sort of, there's this panic buying of solar modules, and we are like because of whatever reasons, but we are not evaluating our priorities or our energy landscape holistically. So at one point of time, we went for the IPPs, and then with the same crisis narratives and kind of emergency mindset, we went into the coal power, and now we are in a way moving very fast towards the solarization. So Sahiwal coal power project is among the 2040 coal power facilities around the world which are being funded by the BRI initiative. The Tharparkar ones. So the Tharparkar coal field enabled 8 new coal power projects in Pakistan. So that's how the coal power production holistically looks like. Especially we experience the smog, and our environment is fast degraded. We are witnessing this environmental degradation very fast. And yeah, so with that, I thank you so much, everyone.